afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 14th episode of Pete's Power Plays, hosted by the one, the only King on the Ice himself, Philly Pete, and we are live on 12 Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV. And what can I say? We are back at it again for another week, another day. And this show, as usual, is sponsored by MyBookie. When signing up for an account, make sure you use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports. That's 12OZ Sports. All one word, and you'll be ready to rock and roll when it comes to, it looks like more Belarus games, club-friendly games, and a lot of esports. Like I said, esports has been taken off. I've been placing a couple bets with esports recently. I think over the weekend I hit a couple more bets with esports. So it's taking a huge toll right now with everything going on. And you know what? It's actually kind of fun. So actually, speaking of the devil, you can actually sign up when it comes to PlayStation. You know, when you have a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, a FIFA or NBA 2K leagues, they actually have you can sign up for the tournaments, and this is basically how people bet on you is via video games, obviously. But I believe that I did. It's funny. I did play and sign up for this, actually, for a tournament to be in esports, and one of my buddies, a couple of buddies of mine, reached out to me in regards, saying that they saw my name on FIFA, and they were making bets via esports. So it's nice to see that your name was actually like on a betting website. So that was pretty cool. So but yeah, anything in regards, please make sure you sign up for MyBookie. You have the live casino with some roulette, blackjack, whatever you want to call it, 3-card poker. But either way, make sure you use MyBookie. Seat Giant, when games do come back into action, please make sure, if you want to get the first row of any sports event, make sure you use Seat Giant. And last but not least, yours truly, Zingo TV. When signing up for an account for Zingo TV, please make sure you use the promo code 12 Ounce. That's 12OZ. Again, all one word, and you'll be ready to rock when it comes to these beautiful live streams that we have for you guys, as well as everything else in general when it comes to streaming lives. When it comes to streaming sports, our network, 12 Ounce Sports Network, is having a lot of fun. Basically, a lot of fun things coming to you guys your way. iRacing, a little virtual reality racing, horse racing. So it gives you guys something to look at, maybe even bet on with friends in the near future. But this is going to be a nice little community of 12 Ounce Sports Network to get, just to help everyone out here with everything going on. But again, Zingo TV, use a promo code 12 Ounce when signing up for an account, and you all could be streaming live our shows that are very, very great, and everybody's show on the network here is wonderful. So you have top-notch shows when it comes to 12 Ounce Sports Network. So make sure you sign up. So last Tuesday I spoke about my my favorite NBA jerseys, and I also spoke about the first round of the playoffs, of what I would consider, if there was current playoffs right now. I basically had, the first round locked in, and today I want to talk about the rest of the playoffs as if it were to happen today. Those that tuned in last week knew that what I had in the first round. I also brought back Gina Tucci, my wife. I brought her back on Wednesday and Thursday. We spoke about Tacoma FD, and we spoke about basically everything else regarding the world of the coronavirus going on right now, and again, women aspect of everything else in general. So it was very, very nice having her on. She will be back on tomorrow and Thursday as well, as we will discuss Westworld. Westworld has been, we started from season 1, we just finished season 2, and tomorrow we will give our insight on the first 2 seasons before we start the 3rd season, as it is about halfway through on HBO. So we will start off with that as well when it comes to tomorrow, and Thursday we have a couple other things in store for you guys as well out there. So here we are, Tuesday, April 14th. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope everyone had a great Passover and Easter. The best that we can make it, during these times. So on to the second round. So those that didn't tune in, I did mention that the second round, I would have Toronto over Columbus. I had Pittsburgh over Montreal. I had the Rangers over the Hurricanes, and I had the Florida Panthers over the Islanders in the first round. That was in the East Conference. West Conference, I had Calgary over Winnipeg. I had Edmonton over Chicago. I had Nashville over Arizona, and I had Vancouver over Minnesota. So here we are, second round. Let's start off. We had the first overall seed in the East, the Boston Bruins, playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think this series will be a barn bruiser. I think this possibly will go 7 games. However, just the way that we know how good Tuukka Rask is in the playoffs, and I think with his goal against average set at 2.12, and the way that Boston's defense comes alive, this team will be tough to beat and take out. I just think Boston's first of all, their offense is great too, but I just think their defense will be too much for Toronto. We know Toronto's defense is very, very lackful in that sense, and I think Boston will take full advantage here, and I think they move on. I think Boston moves on to semis of the Eastern Conference Finals, and here we go. So I think that, the Eastern Conference Semifinals, and they move on there easily. I think probably, again, like I said, probably 6 or 7 games. But I just think Boston is way too much for Toronto. Next, we have the Battle of Pennsylvania. You have the Flyers against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I just think that the way the Flyers have been playing here, first off, this will be a 7-game series. If it's any series that I could talk about right here, it will be the Flyers and Penguins. It's for the world. The whole planet of Earth would love to see a 7-game series, let alone the state of Pennsylvania. I know I will. But when you see a second round matchup with a 4-5 matchup, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, you have to imagine, just absolute barn burners, absolute Broad Street bullies versus, Pittsburgh Penguins. This is just the way to go. Rivalry 101 at its finest here, and I do think that this is the way to go. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, this will be a 7-game series here, but just, again, like I said, the way Philly has been playing, the Broad Street bullies themselves, I think they advance here and take the game. They take the series over Pittsburgh. We know Pittsburgh is getting very, very veteranique, I guess I should say, with they're getting older. And, I think they barely squeeze it out against Montreal. I just never really liked Montreal. All my clients in Twitterverse out there know, especially how Montreal treats us when it comes to my picks. So, Pittsburgh, good luck, good try, but I think Philadelphia here comes out and they move on to face Boston with an intriguing 1-4 matchup. Boston-Philly, there you have it. Next up, Tampa Bay and New York Rangers. You know what? This is what I'm saying. I've been saying the Rangers have been playing hot as well, just as hot as the Flyers, and I do think this is basically another series that can easily go 7. I think Tampa, especially last year when they got swept by Columbus, they just didn't try after that. They were up 3-4 nothing. Here comes Columbus. They come back and they win the game and they sweep the series. So I think Tampa is they're out here for some nice revenge on every team possible that steps in their way here. And as hot as the Rangers have been, I just think that this is another game, or another series, I should say, that not only are you going to be cashing overs because Rangers have been hitting overs galore as of late. When you're getting hockey at the time. And Tampa as well. Tampa's a really good first period scoring team, and they could definitely lean on the overs hardcore too. So, but this was I have my 2 upsets. This is the 11-seeded Rangers coming in to play the 3-seeded Tampa Bay Lightning. Rangers I think they do steal at least a game in Tampa. They go 1-1 heading back to New York, but I just think heading back from New York, I think it'll be 2-2. But I think Tampa will win in 6 here, and Tampa moves on. But Rangers did give it their all, and I just think, like I said, it's just too much for Tampa Bay, or it's too much for New York, and Tampa moves on here as well. And then lastly, we have the Florida Panthers and the Washington Capitals. Again, I just like the fact that Florida's been playing much better hockey than the Islanders. It's a shame that the Panthers have to run into the Capitals here. But, maybe in the years to come, this team will be good. Something to look at. I know a couple people that I've spoken to have taken tickets for basically the Stanley Cup future for the Florida Panthers here. And I just think that with everything said and done here, I just think that Washington is just too tough and too strong for Florida here. Florida will give it a go, but I think Washington wins the series in 5. I just think that they gave it all against the Islanders, and coming into a hostile environment in Washington where they're basically just ready for another cup. Ovi's had the season of his life, and I just think it's right. He's ready to go here, and I just like everything about the Capitals. Capitals, like I said, also were one of Philly Pete's futures with his clients. Like I said, a lot of about. We had 4 future Stanley Cup winners, and they all made the playoffs. So that was something that we liked this season. And Ovi had 48 goals. He had 48 goals. He was well on edge here to set some new records in the NHL, which was phenomenal. And he's tied with the pasta boy himself, David Pastrnak. But like I said, when everything's said and done here, Washington advances, and then you have literally an all chalk Eastern Conference semifinals between Boston and Philly, Tampa and Washington. So now we're going to move on to the west side of things. So Colorado will take on Calgary. Colorado is also one of Philly Pete's future bets for his clients there. Since the beginning of the year, we got them at, I believe, 12-1. Yeah, 12-1 is what we have Colorado at. Dallas was 16-1. So we have them both that were in the Western Conference playoffs here. So Colorado, Calgary, like I said, Calgary is such a hit or miss team. They've been, they could score, they could score at will. They've been playing over galore as of late when it comes to goals. I believe the last 10 games that they had before the shutdown of sports, I believe they were 8-2 in their last 10 over. So this team was putting pucks into the net here, and Colorado as well. But I just think when it comes to everything said and done here, Colorado just stands out to me as just a very, very elite team here. Nothing much more to say about it. I just think that Calgary will probably sneak out a couple of games, but I just think Colorado will win in 6 here, 4-2, and they will advance against the very pesky Calgary Flames. And just look for Calgary to maybe make some noise, maybe even take a 2-1 lead in the series. But like I said, I think Colorado will find their ways, and I do think that Colorado advances here. And moving on, Edmonton and Dallas probably would be the best series of this the divisional round, I believe. And I just like it. I just like everything about this one. This Edmonton Dallas matchup. You have Edmonton who can score at will. Dallas that has amazing defense. You have basically the top 2 leaders in points. You have Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. So how about Draisaitl with 110 points? That is unreal. Good for him. The Oilers center right there, number 29, representing Edmonton, and Mr. McDavid himself with 97 right behind him. So, if you have these two on your team, by all means, you're going to go pretty decently far. So I just think that, with Edmonton playing as good as they have been, and Dallas is like a hit or miss offensive team. They do have good defense, but I just think with Khudobin, 3rd overall, basically in goals against with a 2.22. I think it's just. I just think with and again the save percentage is at 93%. He leads all goalies in save percentage. So Khudobin has been playing really good hockey as well for Dallas. So I do think that when everything's said and done here, you got to take defense. Defense wins your championships. This will be I feel like another 7-game series, and I think Dallas will play Colorado in the next round. Moving on real quick. I think St. Louis here is just. I think St. Louis against Nashville, again another game or another series where it's going to be tough. I think Nashville, like I said, Nashville's a really pesky team as well. They've been putting the pucks in the net too. Again, I don't think Arizona is that ready yet in terms of playoffs, but like I said, St. Louis is just a team that they're dying for another Stanley Cup. They had one hell of a run last year, actually, winning it. And I think this year, they didn't lose anybody. They really didn't lose anybody. And I think this is what they're going to do. And Jake Allen, 2.15 goals against average, and just they're an all-around great defensive team and offensive team as well. So I just think that St. Louis is just too much for Nashville. I think St. Louis wins in 5 games here, and they advance. And then lastly, Vancouver and Vegas. You know what? I just think, and again, Vancouver has been playing really good offense and defense. They've been putting pucks in the net as well. A lot of plays for Philly Pete for clients on Twitter. I've always been representing the Canucks mainly on the money line and the overs because they've been cashing that out a lot before everything got shut down. So, but Vancouver will give Vegas a run for the money. But at the end of the day, I just think Vegas is just too much for Vancouver. Again, this could be a 6 to 7 game series as well. But for me, I just think it's too much Vegas. And hey, we all know what happens in Vegas. It's just a little bit of the Vegas hangover. So I truly expect Vegas to walk away here in a 6-game series winner. So again, all chalk for the most part. Boston and Philadelphia, Tampa and Washington, Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis, and Vegas. So here we are back into the east side of things. Boston and Philadelphia. And this is basically how I would have my Final Four as well as my Stanley Cup Finals representations. But again, here we go. Flyers and Boston. Remember back when Boston was up 3-0 on Philly, and Philly came back to win the series 4-3. I believe that was a 2010 NHL Finals where the Flyers did go on to the Stanley Cup against the Chicago Blackhawks and unfortunately lost that series. I actually read about that and saw that over the weekend. Just a little highlight of how it ended in Game 6. Patrick Kane right through a 5-hole. Fans had no idea what happened, and here you go. Chicago Blackhawks were your 2010 NHL Stanley Cup champions. Still to this day, it still bothers me, and it still kind of ticks me off a little bit of how close the Flyers were on getting their cup for the first time in a very, very long time. But Boston and Philly, again, another series where you could go back and forth here. I think Boston could go up 2-0 at home. Flyers could easily even it up at 2-2, making it a nice best out of 3 matchup. But I think once everything's said and done here, again, the Flyers have been playing the hottest hockey right now, and this is one of my upsets of the NHL playoffs. And I have Philadelphia Flyers advancing. No bias, but this is just how it was, and this is how I basically set out my NHL bracket from last month until now of how I saw teams move on and how I think things were going to be in the playoffs. So Philadelphia Flyers, basically it would be a 7-game series against Boston, but again, one of the hottest NHL teams coming, and Flyers move on. And sayonara Boston, but I think it's time that Philly, they came what they want. They're coming for what they want, and that's the Stanley Cup. So Flyers move on. Next up, Tampa Bay and Washington. This is another series where it could go either way. Tampa, we know how Tampa can be, and just based in the past, they've always been the favorite to win the cup each and every year. I think the last 3 years, they had the least amount of odds to win the title. I think 3 years ago they were like 10-1, and then the 2 years before that they were 7-1 or 6-1, and they still can't raise the cup. But I think this Tampa team, when they're playing good, they're playing good, and I really do see an upset here. I do think Tampa Bay does beat Washington as much as I like to see the Capitals come back and go back to the cup again, but I just think Tampa Bay here coming back with revenge and taking a vengeance out on every team that steps on their path. I think that they're also playing pretty good hockey too. So I think that they started playing hot in the second half of the season, Tampa Bay, and you know how Holtby can be. Holtby can choke here and there, but I think this Tampa team is basically gonna put up and shut up the Washington Capitals, and I think that's what they do. So Flyers, Tampa, rematch of the 2004 Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll go like that: 4 seed versus a 3 seed, and now we go to the West. Colorado and Dallas. What an amazing matchup this is going to be, a 1 versus 4 seed. And again, like I said, I just think that Colorado has a little bit of both offense and defense. They have great goalkeeping as well. Dallas as well. But this is where I just think Colorado is just too much for Dallas. Dallas has the defense. Dallas has the goaltending. Colorado has the defense, the goaltending. But the one thing that Dallas kind of lacks that Colorado has is the offense and the speed. Colorado will give you 3 to 4 goals a night when Dallas can maybe give you one, no more than 2 goals. So with that being said, Colorado is an advancement for me, no problem as well. I think Colorado wins this series in about 5 or 6 games. Just their offense will be too much for them. And again, Colorado has all three: goaltending, defense, and offense. They are a superior team. That's why they're the #1 overall seed, and that's why they're going to represent one half of the Western Conference Finals. Colorado over Dallas. And then here we go, St. Louis and Vegas. Again, this is probably another tough matchup that we have. But again, I've been representing Vegas since all season. I like the way they played. Again, a month ago, that when things were done, I drew this out myself. I drew this out myself. Basically, have it crown the champ. And Vegas here to me is when you go to Vegas, it's guaranteed you're going to have the Vegas virus. So basically, St. Louis, when they go travel to Vegas, I expect Vegas to be up 2-0. They'll go back to St. Louis. I think Vegas probably steals one there, and then they'll end St. Louis in 5, maybe 6 games here. But I think this is where St. Louis's run ends. I think Vegas advances. Again, this team has been playing nonstop, good as of late. When you have all three, good goaltending, offense, and defense, it's tough to stop. So I think you'll have a Colorado versus Vegas here in the Western Conference Finals. So here we are. You're set with the Final Four. You have the 4-seed Philadelphia Flyers against the 3-seed Tampa Bay Lightning, against the 1-seed Colorado Avalanche, versus the 2-seed Vegas Knights. So here we go. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. This series here, again, reminds me of the 2004 season, when Tampa Bay went to the Stanley Cup Finals that year with Marty St. Louis, Vinny Lecavalier. That team was unreal. But this Flyers team always remembers. And I think this is the team that, again, it's tough to stop a hot team, especially going into the playoffs. And Philly is that team. Philly will kind of represent last year's St. Louis Blues team. And just the way the momentum swings, the fans are dying in Philly for a cup. And I think when this happens here, this series against Tampa Bay, this is going to be a very, very hard fought series. But the history of Tampa, we know. They barely squeaked out a series win against Washington. Okay, I gave them the benefit of the doubt because of all their unsuccessfulness that they had the last couple years going to the cup. Unfortunately, the road ends yet again for Tampa Bay because the Philadelphia Flyers are heading back to the Stanley Cup Finals and since 2010 and will represent the Eastern Conference Finals. So your 4-seed Philadelphia Flyers, again, I'm not trying to be biased. I just go off based on how teams have been playing from the first half of the season, second half of the season, and then just how they've been rolling as of late. I think the Flyers won 10 games in a row before Boston shut them down. So again, Flyers take out their grudge on Boston. They clear them out of the way. Philly, hey, you know what happened to you guys in 2010? Or excuse me, you know what happened? You guys beat us in 2004? Okay, well, we're going to beat you guys this time. Tampa, I'm sorry, but again, your history still continues. You guys will be ousted out. This is going to be a 6-game series for me. Basically, Philly goes into Tampa. It'll be a 1-1 series heading back to Philly. I think Philly wins those 2 at home, go back to Tampa. Tampa wins that game 3-2. They go back to Philly, and Philly ends it out. Because if they did go back to Tampa, I think Tampa would squeeze that out with a victory. But Philly, they know how to shut things down. They know how to close out. Philly ends the series against Tampa in 6 games, and they move on to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2020. And to represent the West, you have the #1 seed Colorado Avs against the #2 seed Vegas Golden Knights. Now, a lot of people might freak out about this, and I know that the client and myself had Colorado Avalanche to win the cup as a future. However, this is when you have to hedge your bets and take Vegas in a series bet because they would probably be the slight underdog. If I had to do this, I would think Vegas would probably be a +120. I think Colorado would probably be -140 for the series winner. So you have to hedge your bets here. And to me, I think this is going to be the right call. I think again, the Vegas virus is so real when you go there that people are always hungover. So I think you get the hangover cure in Vegas. Vegas takes advantage. Especially when they go on the road against Colorado. I again, this is when I expect a 1-1 series going back to Vegas. Same thing like same thing with the Flyers Tampa series. What I just talked about. I just think that Colorado and Vegas. This will be a 1-1 series going to Vegas. I think Vegas steals 2 at home. Head back to Colorado, where Colorado will be antsy for a win. They get their win. But I think Vegas coming home on Game 6 will win, and they will advance to the Stanley Cup Finals to represent the West and play yours truly, the Philadelphia Flyers, in the Stanley Cup Finals. Because if they went back to Colorado in Game 7, I just think that because Colorado fans are crazy. Like, they're nuts. They're one of the best. They're dedicated, and that's what makes Denver in general such a great city. Because they have the Nuggets. Nuggets fans are great. They always make the playoffs. Colorado always makes the playoffs too, but their fans are just so passionate about it. And unfortunately, the road ends here for Colorado in Game 6 because you can't go to Vegas and win. Let's just face it. Every team knows that in the NHL. It's basically a really, really rough road when going into Vegas and leaving Vegas. So, with that being said, Vegas takes the cake. Game 6, they win and they advance. This is Philly Pete's NHL playoff bracket. Those that are just tuning in for the last couple minutes I spoke about, basically the whole rest of the playoffs. If it were to end, last month, of how things would be. And again, this is the Tuesday, April 14th episode of Pete's Power Play, hosted by the one, the only Philly Pete. And we are live on 12 Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV. And here we are. We made it to the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals. The 4-seed Philadelphia Flyers against the 2-seed Vegas Golden Knights. This is the way I saw things since last month, basically since the second half of the season. I love these two teams. Again, I'm not being biased because I'm a Flyers fan, but I go on momentum of how teams are, going into the playoffs, and I think these two teams will be representing each conference, just the way that they've been playing strong, the last 2 months of the NHL season. So here we have it: 4-seed versus a 2-seed, Vegas, Philly. Here we are, Sin City versus Brotherly Love, and here we are. So the first 2 games are going to be out in Vegas. Believe it or not here, I want to say that Vegas comes out here and takes a 2-0 lead. You go back to Philly, I think Philly ties the series up at 2-2. Now, it comes down to a best out of 3 series. And what better way of a Stanley Cup Finals than to have a best of 7? So you know what? I'm going to flip-flop things here. I think Philly goes out there and they win 3 in a row. They take Game 5 in Vegas. I think Vegas takes Game 6 in Philly. Here we are, Sin City, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Lord Stanley is there. People are going nuts. Philly fans have arrived in Vegas, taken over the arena. And what can I say here? This is going to be a very, very great Game 7 here. A lot of expectations. And when everything's said and done here, yours truly, the Philadelphia Flyers, are hoisting up Lord Stanley's Cup for the 2020 Stanley Cup champions, yours, Philadelphia Flyers. Hottest team by far. Best hockey I've seen from this team for basically the last, from the second half of the season to last month when things ended. They've been playing the best hockey, ripping off 10 in a row. They've been playing great. Defense was on point. Goaltending was on point. Offense has been playing in sync. And I truly think here that the Philadelphia Flyers are hoisting up Lord Stanley Cup. And again, I just think that Claude Giroux is your MVP, and he deserves it. He's the captain of the team, and he's fought a long way to finally getting one of these cups, and here we are, and he has it. So, your Philadelphia Flyers are the 2020 NHL Stanley Cup champions, and basically I will end the show on that note. So tomorrow, first of all, thank you all for tuning in to the Tuesday, April 14th episode of Pete's Power Plays, hosted by the one, the only, King of the Ice himself, Philly Pete. Again, clients and Twitter fans that have been reaching out to me via DM, thank you guys so much for your cooperation. I know you guys are tuning in. I appreciate all your kind words. We will get back into this, very, very soon. I hope everyone's staying safe out there. And if you want to play FIFA or NHL or Madden, let me know. I've played a few of you guys already. Tomorrow, real quick on the show, my wife will be on as well. We will talk about the first 2 seasons of Westworld and where we will go into the third season because we haven't started it yet. So a little bit of a preview of what we think is going to happen in the third season, and a lot more to come for Thursday as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe, stay sanitized, and have a good one. Take care, and later.